There are a few simple rules to follow before installing the hydrogen system. Number 1. Be sure that the tires are filled to the proper pressure. These automatic tire valve stem covers are a good way to know instantly if you have the right pressure or not in your tires. They have a green signal if the tires are full, and they turn red when the tires go low. Number 2. Be sure that you have enough engine oil and that your oil isn't old and dirty. Dirty oil or not enough oil causes friction in the engine and you will lose mileage. Okay, let me show you what I've got so far. I couldn't find anywhere that I could put the reserve tank, so I had to remove the windshield washer tank, and I couldn't actually put the reserve perfectly upright either, because if I did it would hit the hood when it closed, so it has to be put on an angle. And so temporarily I've just wire tied this thing in position because I'm going to have to make some brackets to attach to the little tabs here to hold it permanently. But just so that I could make the video and show you how to do the install, I've put it in place, and it's solid enough. It's not going to go anywhere. The hydrogen generator is actually all the way down in the bumper well because there's nowhere else to put it in this car, and it has to be located about 9 to 12 inches below the reserve. So believe me, it's down in there. Then we have the gas outlet tube that comes up into the reserve. Then there's a tube in the bottom of the reserve that goes down into the generator for the return line. Then we have the high pressure clear tubing that's going to a valve. If you can see that, let me get in the light, into a valve, and then from the valve it goes over to a T that I put here, which comes from the PCV valve. I put a couple of elbows in, and then there's a T that goes right into the intake manifold. This is direct engine vacuum. That's why I have on it this little valve to reduce the amount of suction that the engine puts on our reserve. And I'm actually going to drill a small hole in the top of the reserve for pressure relief, because if this puts too much pressure on the reserve, two things happen. Number 1, there will be so much vacuum applied to this reserve that it will suck it in and suck in all of the tubes and maybe break them. Number 2, what will happen is at greater vacuum pressure, the water boils at a much lower temperature. Actually, at full engine vacuum, it can boil down to about 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So we don't want that to happen, so we want to relieve the pressure a little bit on this cell. Okay, well, this is the fuel injector enhancer that I'm going to hook up. It does O2 sensors and MAP sensors. So this will be attached to the vehicle. I'm just going to wire tie it in. I didn't spray it yet with waterproof spray. I'm just going to hook it up first, see how it works, and then hook it up, or then spray it down with waterproof spray. Okay, it's pretty much finished. I haven't neatly done everything because of the time constraints that I have today, but there's the EFI. It's all hooked up, the map's hooked up, the power is hooked up, the ground's hooked up. I put in a little amp meter and a inline fuse here for the hydrogen generator. I didn't put the PWM in yet. I will do that tomorrow. But all the wires are run fairly neatly. The ground wire comes here. I have the main battery ground come here, and everything else is grounded to the same point. The wire for the hydrogen generator is tucked away, wire tied neatly away, goes down into the hydrogen generator. We have our electrolyte tank with the tubing all hooked up, the inline valve to the PCV inlet. We have the MAP sensor plugged back in again. I've wired everything through 2 kill switches, so the EFI's through a kill switch and the hydrogen generator's through a kill switch. Okay, here's the final portion of the video. This is with everything installed. The hydrogen generator's running, the EFI's running, and this is the basic installation. I did not install the PWM just because I just don't have the time right now. So, In the driver's cab, I do have a switch for the hydrogen and a switch for the EPI. There's the EPI right there. It is on and running, attached to the map sensor and attached to the O2 sensor. Here we have an amp gauge. You can read it. It's pulling about 15 amps, something like that. I have an inline fuse right here, and a relay that's underneath of this, just strapped onto this crossbar. Ground wire to here is my grounding point, and I have the main hydrogen wires running here along the front down into the hydrogen generator down here. Here you can see the bubbles bubbling up from the hydrogen. If I can get that in there. Probably can't see it, but tough to see for some reason, but believe me, it's bubbling like absolute crazy. Let's try and get a better view. Hold on. There it is. You could probably see there that it is bubbling like crazy. It's running just fine. This car has 150,000 miles on it, so it still gets over 40 miles to the gallon, which is pretty good. Before the hydrogen or anything else is installed, it gets about 33.5, and that's only because the car is so old and worn, I'm sure. And that's about it, guys. That's the basic installation of the hydrogen generator in a vehicle. It's going to be different, of course, for different vehicles. Some cars it's easier to install. Some of them have more room. This one has no room whatsoever. And I didn't feel like disassembling the entire car to get the hydrogen in there, so this is what you get. Okay, that's all for now. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, please go to our homepage, www.myenergyinc.net, and our email address is right there on the front page, and we have our phone number listed also. So if you want to give us a call, that's fine too. Okay, thanks so much for watching. Goodbye.